Hello and welcome back to Sunny Isle. In the last episode, we saw the old town take shape on this hilly peninsula. With its charming streets and high-density buildings, it's quickly become home to over 6,000 residents in a thriving business community. At its heart is the city's most popular landmark, drawing visitors from far and wide. It's no wonder this neighbourhood is now the city's most beautiful and desirable. But popularity comes with challenges. Narrow streets are gridlocked, sidewalks are overcrowded, and emergency services struggle to reach the area. With no public transport and surging housing demand, the strain on this neighbourhood is only growing. And today, we're going to take action to secure the old town's future by redesigning the road network leading up to the neighbourhood and introduce public transit. We'll create a better connected, more livable city for residents and visitors. So let's get started. The plan is to continue Reuben Road all the way through past the Memorial Park, through the Civic Quarter, and then at the moment most of the traffic is filtering down to the Great West Bay, and most traffic are avoiding this steep incline and actually coming back through and wrapping around what is called Sycamore Street. But I think the plan is, and it would make sense through the development of this area over time, that the main road that travels through the region would come all the way to the foothills of the old town. As nice as it is to have all these pedestrians walking through here, I do think we could make better use of this space by installing one of our asymmetric tram roads, similar to what we have already on Reuben Road. However, the capacity of this road is actually quite limited. You can see in some sections it's actually only 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction. And typically in areas of high density where you want as much capacity as possible, you do actually need to take advantage of using more lanes, especially if you've got special turning lanes, or you've got cross junctions, not just T junctions, where you need people or vehicles to go in different directions. So I think we might actually end up using one of our larger roads, which has 4 lanes of traffic, 2 in each direction, and it converts to an asymmetric road when it reaches a junction. And if we just quickly jump into my road builder save, this is the standard road here. So you've got 2 lanes of traffic on each side. You've got a medium between the road and the trams, and this allows you to place a tram stop. And then when you don't need a tram stop or you need an extra lane for turning, you can use the asymmetric version, which is absolutely brilliant. And it really does ease up traffic. And I've got some examples over here. I wonder if any of these roads are actually using the correct example. Yeah, here we go. Right on the main junction here, we've got asymmetric road taking vehicles in every direction that they need to be able to go. And then similar over here, 3/2. And then we get these really nice curves as well with the tram tracks. Using the wider road, so I'm quite happy to see that. So let's jump back into the main city and start placing some of these. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a pretty good fit for this. We've got plenty of park space. However, I do think it would be beneficial for the trams or the tram tracks themselves to be a fairly smooth gradient through here. So instead of just connecting this straight up to this junction and creating some jarring movement between the two, we'll go ahead and use the complex curve tool and bring this over nicely. However, this will probably screw up some of the zoning through here and we will lose some of these properties, but I think that will be fine. So I've connected and redrawn the roads, one unit off the centre snapping point of the intersection. While we do lose some zoning on these corners, we get a wider turning radius and a smoother curve on the corners. We do lose some building styles, but we can try to rescue some of these areas that have had their zoning updated. Looks like this mixed use and row home can stay. And on this corner, we have room for a plopped asset potentially. But it looks like a whole bunch of new homes have popped up, so I'd rather not have anything here for now and keep it clear for a future project. We can go ahead and formalize this with a basic custom construction yard or empty lot detail. And there we go, a couple of disused sites with minimal detailing, as it's only temporary. We'll try to get back to this later, and if not, at least it still looks presentable. So that's the section on what's essentially the mainland in the city. Now we can start to take a look at extending this out to the peninsula, which will be quite disruptive. Seeing this pedestrian path, it's going to be replaced with a much wider road. However, our priority isn't to give cars better access, it's mostly to allow better access for city services. Well, this looks like a bit of a dog's dinner with all the intersections and odd angles. I like to think that over time, perhaps given its prominence, it has slowly seen many upgrades. The shape and form have come about organically. However, I have noticed that we've got a high frequency of intersections that I'd like to clean up, starting with this pedestrian road by the large police station. I don't think this connection is needed when we could actually replace it with a footpath. So if we create a couple of nodes in the segments here, we'll be able to delete this section and then redraw it. And then I think just using a simple path between the 2 points without creating any new intersections, it should look great. Okay, now that we've got our boulevard in place, it's time to clean up the surrounding area and figure out how we're going to terminate the tramway and road heading into the old town. To start, I'm going to undo the one-way system that I'd created in the last episode, turning them back into regular roads. I'll also convert the narrow alleys into pedestrian roads, aiming to keep traffic in more condensed areas and give people more freedom to walk and go about their day without having to worry about squeezing past cars, vans and trucks. So most of these side roads are now pedestrian, complementing the main walkway up to the cathedral. That's looking lovely, so busy. Absolutely love that. You can start to see now what the plan is to create a custom roundabout at the end of this arterial node. And To keep things simple, I want as few connections as possible, with only 3 vehicle permitting connections to be precise. That was a little tricky. These road tools are incredible, but combined with anarchy, you end up just playing with fire. But we got there in the end, with a little help from Move It. Now we just need to pay attention to some of the lanes coming in and out of the circle, ensuring we've got a nice smooth flow through here. I'm using Move It to really refine the position of these roads. Since the bulk of the traffic is heading out of the old town, the priority is to allow easy access out of the city onto the large road, with only one lane making the right turn back into the area. I've installed the traffic mod and I'm trying out the lane connectors for the first time, and it looks like the right turns are seen as risky, signified by the dashed line. This allows us to redraw the connection, making the right turn more attractive to drivers, while we can also remove some of the unwanted connections to the pedestrian roads. Back inland, we can refine some of the connections to the boulevard by adding asymmetric roads for both the side roads and the main road. I had to create 2 variations for this because using the replace tool flips the side on which the tram tracks sit. So a dedicated asymmetric road design was needed for each direction. Alright, that road looks quite significant on the city's landscape. Both ugly and beautiful depending on your outlook. Let's take a look at our transportation info view to better understand our needs in the area. Right off the bat, you can see that the sheer quantity of taxis heading into Old Town is just staggering. How much public transport is needed in the area is phenomenal. Taking a look at our current tram network, or preferably just the lines if we hide the track colour, we currently have one tram line that runs through the city centre. It starts up at the depot by the Valley Commercial Park, passes the high school, the main street, and then terminates at the harbour. The plan for the Old Town is to create a hub, a terminus with 2 lines branching out, one going through the town to the harbour, and then the other one going up through to the valley. In the future, I need to look at expanding the public transport in the harbour area for sure. It's mostly buses for now, and they are at capacity. So we did need this node here in the end to create a switch in the tracks. However, if you have a keen eye, you'll notice that only one side has a switch. If we plan to use both sides of the track for the terminus, then we need to allow for both sides to switch tracks as they reverse out. And to achieve this, we can jump into the road builder mod, select the road, create a new template, and we can simply label this as station in case we want to use it in the future. And to fix the issue, all we have to do is reverse the direction of one of the tracks so that they're both facing the same direction. And this enables a double switch in the track, resolving our problem and allowing trains to enter and leave without issue. We only need to add one more stop, and this one we don't need to worry about the switches as they are through stations. And with that in place, we can start to get the lines in order. We'll begin by editing the existing line going up to the depot, and we'll remove the stop at the harbour along the bridge road and then start to reroute it up to the peninsula. Alright, now with that in place, let's take a look at our new services on this line. Starts at the old town and then follows on to the college, then another stop near the high school. However, looking at this, I think we could move this stop over just a little to better serve the area, especially the schools that could benefit from having them just a little bit closer. And with that in place, the tram stops are quite satisfyingly evenly spaced out up to the South Bay Leaside district, before heading out of town up to the depot. This stop up at the depot is not to be overlooked. It serves much more than the Valley Commercial Park. It's also heavily used by the village on the other side of the river, which uses a footbridge to navigate over and take advantage of this speedy connection. With the second tram line in place, we can now jump into the line overview and change the vehicle type to a colossal order tram. This allows us to use different colour lines in the info view while keeping the tram vehicles themselves the same colour, blue. I'm also updating the naming convention of the tram system. Currently I'm using an anagram of Scunny light rail, but I don't see this as a light rail system. Fundamentally, it's just a tram system. I'd like to hear your suggestions for naming conventions for public transport. We could follow the system perhaps that we use for buses, displaying only the start and end points on the line, but I'm open to new ideas. For now, we'll just call this Tram Line 2. Okay, we've got our tram stop in place now, this lovely little shiny terminus with 2 tram lines coming in here, so it's nice to see both sides of the tracks being used. I used some of the ploppable service buildings, so these are the taxi stands, I believe, from the ferry terminal, maybe the ferry service, I'm not sure. Anyway, these canopies make a great place to kind of take shelter, especially down by the water where it might be a little bit windy. And yeah, we've got this nice little plaza at the back here, people can sit down, and we've put a few props in here, put some lighting as well. I removed some of the lighting from the road itself and put these park lights in instead, and it looks great. Alright, now let's move on to the bus. We'll mostly use the main roads, taking the scenic route around to the back of the island, starting as close to the tram station as possible. I'm taking a little bit of a gamble by placing the stop right on the roundabout. This could potentially be a disaster, but at the moment I don't really see anywhere else that would be as convenient, not without losing some more green space or some walking areas, so let's give it a crack. Not only does this stop serve the tram terminus, but it will also serve the commercial centre that has formed around the approach to the cathedral. We'll then route the bus up and around, making a stop at the small town plaza, and then up to the back of the landmark on the hill. Okay, let's start drawing the line in, starting at the roundabout stop. Then we'll bring this up to the waterside park. Looks like this might have to cross a couple of lanes and cause a few issues, but we'll keep an eye on it. We'll bring this round to the town plaza, then up to the back of the cathedral. This will serve people living on the top side of the peninsula, and then we'll bring it to the front of the cathedral, and that should serve this area quite well. And then we just need to bring it all the way back. With that in place, we can give it a name, and since this doesn't really expand across a large part of the map, we'll just simply call it by the district name, which is Mont Clementine, and then we'll give this a nice neutral colour like we've been doing with all our other lines. I think a nice lilac colour might be nice around here. Nothing too bright, something fitting for the area. Now it's time to evaluate the fire protection in the area, as this is one of the main reasons we're constructing the mega road. Currently we have only one small station serving the town, located on the far side of the river with limited access. We do have an alternative station up near the border checkpoint, but that's quite far out. So I think we're due for another one, and let's position this in the heart of downtown. Let's go with the French fire station. I think that's quite a nice fit for the area, and we'll just add a simple garage extension. While we're on the road to destruction with this block, let's take a look at some of our signature buildings, as I always seem to forget to place these. The Café de Paris looks like a good fit for the area, with its top and sides featuring simple facades. This makes an excellent centerpiece for the block. As a mixed-use building, it will provide homes while hosting a business on the ground floor, making it a perfect fit for this busy street. And with that placed, it appears that we have one row house that has survived gentrification. Although the zoning is broken, it might be nice to retain this. Let's set it as a historical feature in the area. We can use the picker tool to get the asset and place it as a ploppable building, preserving its presence. And that's it for today as we take a final look at our new boulevard, starting at the redesigned junction with the smooth turning radii, past the fire station and along the scenic promenade, ending at the bustling tram terminus and roundabout. You can see how this area has come to life. Off camera, I've added a few small details like the bus floor decals, cones, lime paint, and grass on the boulevard medium to bring a little bit more realism to the scene. But with increased access comes a challenge: induced demand for cars. It's already becoming a bit of a traffic hotspot. While I wouldn't want to drive here with so many pedestrians sharing the space, banning heavy vehicles should help, and large lorries will now be replaced with smaller vans, keeping the area functional yet walkable. As always, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done differently? Or what's your favourite part of the new build? I'll see you next time in Sunny Isle. Goodbye.